everyone. I'm Nathan. We're back again. Thanks for joining us. I'm here today with Alka Scholes. She's a registered psychotherapist, as well as the author of Anxiety Warriors Volume 1 and 2. I encourage you all to go and check out the website, www.anxietywarrior.ca, and also have a look at the previous videos that we've done. They're helpful sessions. I'm going to actually post a link with the playlist so that whenever you want to watch, you have all of the videos that we've gone through available to you there. Okay, so in the first week, we went over some of the causes of anxiety, and last session, we discussed the importance of sleep and some of the other pressing matters and coping with those at the current time in life right now. So I'll hand it over to you, Alka, if you want to tell us into this week's session.
Thank you, Nathan, so much. I always appreciate your input. And we want to keep encouraging you to, when you join into Zoom, and know that it is all private, and you can ask questions through the chat or email your wellness coordinator. And I know today that some people are coming in by phone, so that's really great too. And so one of the things that I learned last week in my reading is that 90% of illnesses are caused by stress and anxiety. So 90%, that's pretty high. So one of the things that I did mention, and I want to repeat it a little bit, is about practice and awareness. One of the things that is so important is that we're aware of who we are, what we're going through, and that's what part of these sessions are about. And the other piece of that is the strategies that we do share that we need to practice. We need to practice every day. And when you practice every day, it does become second nature. At the beginning, it may seem like it's a lot of things to do, though once you start doing the check-in, and again, I always ask Nathan about the 0 to 10, you know, I find it's easier. It takes a millisecond to go, where am I right now? And what am I feeling right now? And where am I on that scale? And we don't always have to have a number, but wow, we sure get familiar with that scale. And 0 is no disturbance. So that means we're calm. And 10, of course, is we're not putting a thought together very well. And I used to call it short circuiting. I have a blank brain. My brain has no sentences. The words don't go together when I'm at a 10. So maybe that will help everybody here. And one of the things is that we wanted to talk about last week, we introduced the idea of power of the mind. And I also had other strategies to add to what's going on in the world, though I do want to talk a bit about power of the mind at the moment. And when we have fear, or we are angry, or we have grief, stress, intense stress, anxiety, it does change our body chemistry, which again affects us health-wise. It affects us how we think. So one of the things that we do want to practice is, how do we get back to grounding ourselves? How do we get back to lowering that scale? And that was some of the it's some of these strategies that we're sharing here as well. And it isn't always about being able to breathe calmly, because sometimes we need to run around the block, or we need to chop wood, or we need to mow the lawn or something to get rid of some of that energy. So it's really knowing ourselves as how can we begin to lower that scale so that we can get in a position to ground ourselves and calm our minds. One of the things that I did want to talk about was the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. And our conscious mind is what we're using right now. You're viewing me and you see me here and you see Nathan, and he's doing the technical support. He's using his conscious mind. I'm using my conscious mind. I've got some notes here that I'll refer to. And that's how we operate most of the time. So what's really interesting with our conscious mind is that we actually have a limited processing capacity. So how we process things is slower and limited. We have a short-term memory, which is about 20 seconds with our conscious mind. We can manage about 1 to 3 things at a time, so multitasking. And the impulses that travel in our brain are 100 to 100 miles per hour. That may seem fast until I share with you what our subconscious mind can do. Our subconscious mind, the impulses travel at 100,000 miles per hour, which is so boggling and almost incomprehensible. And the average processing, or the ability of our conscious mind, the average processing is about 2,000 bits of information per second. And again, that sounds like, wow, that's a lot of information. However, our subconscious mind can do 4 billion bits of information per second, which seems, again, incomprehensible. And we have a very expanded processing capacity. We also have a long-term memory with attitudes, values, and beliefs, and we can manage in our subconscious mind thousands of events at one time, which is really quite incredible. And we all have this capacity. Some people liken it, the metaphor, as, you know, you have the tip of the iceberg is our conscious mind, and then the other 5/5 of our brain is our subconscious mind. And our subconscious mind carries our habits, our beliefs. We talked a little bit about some belief patterns and systems. And again, you can check the books. Anxiety Warrior 1 and 2 do talk about social and cultural beliefs, and we did talk about in the last session. So here's the thing where you can empower yourself and tap into this power that we can have and we can do. And we can change our belief system. We can change what we think about ourselves. And I just want to use one example, and I also invite anybody to ask a question about it, and certainly Nathan to ask me, because sometimes I get kind of excited about the idea. So let's just take one belief system or one belief, and maybe, and I'll give a personal example, is that I didn't always love myself. So when I did something or something happened to me, I thought maybe that, well, if something not so good happened to me, that I deserve that. So that was embedded in my conscious or subconscious mind. And I really wanted to change that. And the other thing that I wanted to change was how I felt about my life. And so that takes practice. First of all, it's awareness, to realize that we have these belief systems, and these are all things we've learned. And please, please be gentle with yourself, because we were born pure, and we didn't have these ideas in our heads, even though maybe we did get things in the womb. However, we're pretty fresh and we absorb a lot. And we talked about that. Our first seven to 8 years were sponges, and for a good reason. So one of the things that we can do is to change our conscious mind. This is so interesting. I've been thinking about this for a long time. I've had life coaches, I've had managers, and different people to help me structure my business and my thoughts. And it isn't just about, you know, flow sheets and charts. It's about belief systems and changing how you feel about yourself. So one of the fascinating things that I read about, and some of you may have read the book Venus and Mars. It was made popular by John Gray. Well, this man is actually quite interesting. He was a monk for 7 years, and a lot of people do not know that. And he's written a lot of books. However, that particular book, Venus and Mars, did make him famous. And reading it, he said that he made a statement that it took the brain 200 times to hear a concept or an idea before it actually could grasp it or accept it. 200 times. That really fascinated me because I think sometimes we get frustrated with our children or our partner and we think, oh, I've already told him 10 times, you know, to fold the towels a certain way. I've already told, you know, the kids 20 times how to hang up their knapsacks and unpack it after school. And you know, it takes 200 times, 200 times. So I think that really opened my eyes of that as teachers and facilitators and maybe even marketers or advertising or any kind of thing that we want to share is that it takes time for the brain to accept that concept. And he also said in the next sentence, that it took a genius 150 times. So that takes a lot of repetition. And this is the point that I'm coming to, is we can change our subconscious mind, and by using the conscious mind, being very patient with ourselves and practicing. So it's about practice, practice, practice. And that's why it's so important to rewrite our intentions, write our beliefs, perhaps even reread them. So an intention could be, life is miraculous. This is going to be an awesome day. It also could be, today I want to bring value to the world. So again, we need to hear that and read it and say it over and over to ourselves. And eventually the subconscious mind will grab onto that, and perhaps a negative belief or a belief that we don't want to hold anymore will go to the wayside, and this positive intention and positive belief will take the place and be in the forefront. The other cool thing about the subconscious mind, it actually will believe the conscious mind. So it doesn't question, you know, let's just say we have a situation and maybe you're in a relationship, or maybe you're not in a relationship, let's put it that way, and you feel unsuccessful in that. However, what you can do consciously is tell your subconscious mind that you're a love child of the universe, that you're a love child of God, that you deserve a loving, a healthy relationship. And maybe your subconscious, who knows what your subconscious mind has embedded in as a belief. However, you can change that by repeating that as a mantra or an affirmation and intention. And we'll certainly be talking more about those in depth. Though what the cool thing is, you can use the present tense and say, I'm in a healthy, loving relationship. And maybe in reality, you're living on your own. However, you can say this and the subconscious mind will believe it. So, you know, you can think of some things that you want to manifest in your life, that you want to create in your life, or that you're wishing for, or that you have a desire for, and make that a mantra, and your subconscious mind will go, okay, that's true. So what the subconscious mind then does, and this is what's so fascinating, and I have done a lot of studying on this, the world is the same place. However, what happens is it's just like my glasses here. If I put on different glasses, actually, I have some fun ones here in the studio. I'll just get them just for fun. I have a whole box here to make a point. And so the world is the same. And, you know, I can put on a different perspective. And what happens is now I see Nathan through these glasses, and it's different. And I think you get the point. I've got some fun ones here. Some of these you've probably seen before. Nathan's just laughing. I know he's cracking up. What's that?
Those are my favorite.
These guys, they're your favorite. Yeah, totally. So the point is that, you know, the world in front of us is the same world. And we can put on a different perspective. And what happens is our subconscious, here's one, here's a favorite, here's a fun one too. If I'm going to the theater, right? So what happens is our subconscious, when we put on the lens that we want to see the world in, our subconscious believes it. And the super cool part of that is the subconscious then goes, well, wait a minute. The world is this great, miraculous, magnificent place. What happens then, the brain starts to hone in on the magnificence and the miracles. And that's what we see. We see it, it's there anyways. The miracles are there, the magnificence is there, the tragedy is there, the mistakes, whatever, you know, tripping over, whatever is all out there. It's the same world. However, the lens that we create and put on helps us and helps our subconscious to go, well, of course it's true, and we gravitate to that place. So I'm just going to take a little pause because that's a lot, and I'm just wondering, Nathan, is there anything that I can maybe explain, or maybe you have a question, or perhaps something's come through?
Yeah, I mean, perhaps I am still digesting some of that concept, so that probably you could clarify some more for me. Specifically, I don't know
Sure, what?
Yeah.
And how can I clarify it? Maybe give me some guidance, because I get pretty excited.
Yeah, I mean, I guess just the relationship between subconscious and the conscious mind could be clarified for me. I guess you were talking about how the conscious mind doesn't really, or the subconscious doesn't really know the difference between real and not real.
Right. So our subconscious mind works very much in the present tense. Uh-oh. And it's saying now my internet connection is unstable. So hopefully we'll be okay. I just had did I blank out? No, I was okay? Okay. But I had that flash. So we're doing our best always when we live in these rural communities. So our subconscious mind, it stores past learning experiences, memories. It monitors our bodily functions. So those are things we don't need to think about. I mean, if we're drinking water, it's monitoring the swallowing going into our stomach, that type of digestion. So it's very literal. It monitors body temperature. It monitors our heartbeat, our breathing. It's like Grand Central computer system. And it also will accept every thought that our conscious mind chooses. So here's, and it's interesting, and I think I understand the question a little bit, Nathan, is that our subconscious, it has gathered learning and habits. So here's an example. When we see a step, we actually physically and mentally do not think about stepping down a step or stepping up a step. We just do it. We see a step and we step up it. Okay, and I maybe give another example is driving a car, and maybe I'm guessing most of our audience have driven a car, or maybe they have their license. At the beginning, when we first learned, we were thinking about everything. At least I was, for sure. I'm thinking about hanging on to the steering wheel. I'm thinking about, oh, I've got to press the gas. Oh, I've got to press this. Oh, I've got to pay attention to everything around me. I've got to know where my signals are. And our brain, because it's so new, is bringing in all this information. So now, though, when you and I drive, which I know that you do and I do, we get into the car, we start the car, and we're really thinking about our destination. So our subconscious mind is already programmed how to drive. We don't consciously think about the gas, the steering wheel, the signal. We do that subconsciously. Does that help in that idea, Nathan? Does that kind of help?
Yeah, I absolutely, it solidifies some of that. And I think for me, when you were talking about perspective and how framing a perspective can change the way that your subconscious digests the information that's in play.
Absolutely.
Framing the reality, and the subconscious not necessarily knowing the difference.
Right. Yeah, and that's really interesting. It's a little bit of a mind twist, I understand. And it's interesting too, because I actually wrote this down when I was preparing. When we stretch an idea, or our brain is stretched, it can maybe hurt a little bit. And it feels maybe a little uncomfortable because we're trying to figure out or process a different concept. And that's okay. That's what creativity is about. That's what exploration is about. So our subconscious, again, let's let go. Our brain is the first organ that is formed in utero, and after that, the other organs are formed. So the brain right away is programming and collecting data right from the get-go, literally right from the get-go. So then the brain, as it's gathering data, it's formulating things that it's learned, like taking a step and touching something hot right away. Our impulse is to pull back. We don't sit there, touch something hot and go, ooh, that hurts, I have to pull my hand away. That's being conscious. When we touch something hot, bang, right away we have that reaction because that's what the subconscious has learned. So that's another example. And so then we can go now into some beliefs is as a child. And this is so interesting, and I'd like to remind people as well, you learned these beliefs as a child, okay? There's nothing right or wrong in it. However, from a child's perspective, from a child's point of view. So what happens is, as a child of 3 years old or 2 years old, you learned an idea that you thought was true. Again, it's something to really think about because we learned this when we were so young. We learned it from a 2-year-old perspective. And it stays in our body, it stays in our subconscious right until we're aware of it. So as a teenager, as an adult, and this is this inner work and this inner world that we're doing. And as you start unpacking or learning these ideas that we have, one of them I think we mentioned, we talked about a few last week about you need to work hard to earn a living. And that's something we've learned. That doesn't mean that it's right or wrong, though some people don't work hard to earn a living. They love their work, and it's not even work for them. It's a passion, it's a love, and it's almost like play. So again, another belief I think I shared when I was brought up about business people being crooks. And that was something I learned as a child until I got to learn entrepreneurs and realize they were very creative, wonderful people. Again, it's our subconscious learns these things as children. And then as adults, we come in and maybe you've learned some things already. You know, people have said blondes have more fun. Maybe you've learned that blonde people, maybe you learned about blonde people that weren't having fun in their world. And so there's other ones that are a little more subtle. I'm only giving those because they tend to be popular. However, maybe it gives you some ideas of thinking about when you're pondering and thinking about when you have this idea that something is right in your life, you could maybe look at it a second time and you can change it. I don't know if does that help? I hope I clarified.
Yeah, it seems like a topic that probably could spend more time clarifying, but I know I'm making connections with some other stuff that I've already learned, and it's gonna go in the melting pot and just get digested. But yeah, I hope we get to add to that later in our sessions.
Well, and that's where, you know, even Nathan, if you come up with questions, is email them to me. And as our audience, please email us, email your wellness director, because again, we're touching certain things. And if we don't know which direction to go to or how to explain it, and I'm certainly willing to do that and readdress the issues. And one of the things that I'd like to leave you with the power of your mind, is pick something that you would like to have in your life. If you have a wish, and I'm trying to think of some of the ones that I use, and we can change those. I'm trying to think of one that in particular, because I do have quite a few that I use every day, and I write them in my journal. One of the things, okay, I'll give one. I pretty much write every day that I'm very blessed, and other days I have written that I'm a loved child of the universe. I think in the past, I didn't believe that. I do now. And I enjoy writing that because when we live in gratitude, we're really living in paradise. And I'm just trying to watch in the time. We have, how much? 10 more minutes? Is that right? 20 more minutes? Okay, 20 more minutes. Okay, because I want to make sure about some strategies, and I also want to make sure that so what I'd like to introduce is a couple things, is gratitude practice, and we're going to spend more time on that in another session. However, I would like to bring that and plant a seed as we have been planting seeds for our subsequent sessions. When I practice gratitude, actually it's a way of living as paradise and living as heaven on earth, is by practicing attitude or gratitude. And actually, when I said attitude, I used to call it gratitude attitude. And one of the quickest ways to change your mind and to change your life is to practice gratitude. And again, I'm going to come back to this, the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. And this is an interesting one. Okay, I can relate it to something I grew up with. And I was taught as a child not to be happy because the world was going to slap me or take the rug from under my feet. And it took me years to admit that I had this effervescence happiness inside me, and to tell people, yeah, I have a great life, I'm happy, because this belief that I had been taught and told as a child over and over again, I thought, oh no, if I tell the secret that I'm happy, then I'm going to sabotage it, because that's what I learned. So I had to unlearn that, and that was a hard one. So the things that I did was I did start practicing gratitude. And like I said, it's one of the quickest ways to change your mind and to change your view. So every day, part of my practice and my spiritual practice is to write in my journal, my gratitude journal, the things I'm grateful for. And it can be anything. So, and I also do it at night. Pardon me. When you practice gratitude, and what I learned when I started practicing gratitude, that my perspective, this perspective changed. My mind started looking and finding things I could be grateful for. So the little birds that are looking for seeds, the robins, my robins, remember I said they got to fly. Well, mom and dad are laying more eggs, and we've got another batch of babies coming. So they're pretty busy parents. These are things we can be grateful for. We can be grateful for a smile. We can be grateful for beautiful music. We can be grateful for our health. We can be grateful that we woke up. We've woken up, and it's like, wow, I'm awake for another day in this miracle of where I live. So practicing gratitude, you know, at the beginning, maybe you may feel like it's an exercise or it's homework, and it may not feel like it. However, again, I'm going to come back to the conscious mind. It's almost like you're training your subconscious mind. Does that make sense? So, you know, maybe you don't believe that this life is a miracle. However, if you say, I'm thankful for this miraculous life every single day, well, you do that throughout the day, and it won't take very long. If you say it a couple times a day for a few months, there's your 200 times. And the subconscious mind is going to go, you know what? Look at that rose bush. It's coming out with another perfect rose. It's a miracle. And your subconscious mind is going to take that and start looking at other miraculous things. So I hope that's helpful for everybody. One of the things that I wanted to mention too is in changing a habit, especially what we're talking about by making a conscious decision to change our subconscious. So that is a decision we can make. I was trained, and I know a lot of you have heard this before, that it takes 21 days or 30 days to change a habit. True? Have you heard? I think, Nathan, you've heard that. I was brought up that way, and just so that you know too, I had a life coach, and he gave me a task that every 30 days I needed to change a habit. Well, I'll tell you the truth. I got into about the third habit, and I just couldn't make them stick, and I failed I felt like I failed and I quit the whole exercise. I do another practice, and it's actually a year-long practice, and it's one that I'm happy to share with you. So what I do is I set 3 goals in 7 categories for the year, and then every month in those 7 categories, I do 3 small steps. Well, the interesting part of that is, and it comes back to a survey that was done, Philippa Lawley, you can Google that, and we can certainly have that resource there for you. She did a study on how long it would take to change habits. And what she learned and what she discovered, actually 3 things that are very strong, I think. One, if you're creating a new habit, it didn't matter if you missed it one day, not to give up, and you didn't have to start over again. So that was really interesting because I was taught if you missed a day, you had to start right back, right? And that's not true. The other thing that she discovered in her study was it depended what the habit was. So if you chose, let's say you wanted, and she uses this example actually, if you wanted to drink a glass of water a day and you wanted to increase that to a glass of water a day, that would be a fairly easy habit to include in your life. Yes, as Nathan drinks water. So the other habit, and here's a different habit, is let's say you wanted to go jogging after dinner. Well, that's, I see some laughter. Yeah, it's pretty cool. So everybody gets it. It's a totally different type of habit of motivation and exercise and effort. Well, these habits took much more time, many more days. So here's the third big thing. So it was, you could miss a day, so that wasn't so bad. It depended on the depth of the habit that you were trying to change, on how long it would take. And this is the kicker for me. And this gave me so much encouragement. She said it took anywhere from 16 days to 168 days. So up to 168 days, which translates to about 8 months to change a habit. So I found that super encouraging because when I went back to the model that I was using, it was usually around the 8-month mark that I had either achieved a goal or had changed a habit. And sometimes maybe a little sooner, but not much. I was more on the 168 days. Though it gave me so much encouragement because I felt like, okay, I wasn't failing. And the same as what John Gray wrote, that, it takes 200 times. And what that gave me was encouragement. It gave me patience for myself and others. And it also, was saying that, yeah, I can do this. It's just going to take some practice. And that life is practice.
I mean, I guess both of those notes kind of touch base on the fact that you need to be gentle with yourself and continue on in the process, as opposed to being tougher, beating yourself up, and eventually quitting as a result of the suffering, I guess, I mean, you're only amplifying the trouble that you're already going through trying to accomplish what you're trying to accomplish, right? So,
absolutely, Nathan, and you're so right. And I think that's what it really did for me is, and I hope that it gives you participants and viewers encouragement to know that it just takes time. This life's a journey, and we've heard that. We hear that the life's a journey. However, what does it really mean? And I think you're right, Nathan. It takes gentleness. It takes tolerance. It takes patience, that we got to be patient with ourselves, our partners, our children, our community. It takes patience, our animals, you know, and it's about repetition, and that we can make this conscious choice. So back to the conscious mind, we can make a very conscious, aware choice to change a habit, and know that our subconscious, if we're changing something, it's going to take a little bit of time. However, our subconscious will believe it as true. And we're certainly going to do more practice on that for sure. One of the things, and I'm just looking here, what we'd like to do is next time we'd like to bring some meditation and some different meditation practices and breathing practices to bring to the community. And we'd also in the future would like to talk a little bit more about gratitude and intention setting and affirmations, which again ties back into this idea of the conscious changes that we want to make. And so then we can let our subconscious keep leading us. So we'd like to do that. And one of the things I wanted to include, I know we've just got a few minutes left, right, before we wrap up. And I did promise some more strategies for our changing world out there. And last week we talked a little bit about knowing when to disengage, when to engage. And we certainly need to connect with each other, and eye contact for sure. So I want to make sure that, you know, we stay connected somehow. And when you do see people, is try to smile and make eye contact, and that will mean so much. We may not be able to always talk to a stranger, or maybe we're a little bit shy, and that's okay. Though we can look in each other's eyes and smile. And that's already a really big thing. I know that I certainly enjoy that when I go out. One of the other things for a strategy is what I call is a brain vacation. And that can be reading. If you enjoy reading, is to get absorbed and to take a vacation in a fantasy novel or a documentary or a history novel, doesn't matter. Again, what we're doing again is, you know, I talk about the brain vacation. You've probably heard me talk about changing channels. So instead of being worried or stressed, we can shift our brain and put a focus somewhere else. We can watch a comedy. I would suggest a comedy, only that because laughter is so healthy for us and does relieve a lot of stress. The other thing in this time, we can take time to explore interests. Perhaps it is about picking up a different book, or even to read more, or perhaps it's a new hobby. Maybe it's something you always wanted to learn to do, whether it was a medicine wheel, maybe mandalas, or perhaps even making a drum or embroidering, or learning a new skill. Maybe it's cooking, maybe it's baking, or a certain type of baking. These are some things that we can do also. One of the things that cooking can do is make you very present into cooking, and it's a great way to change channels. It seems like I see you nodding your head, Nathan. Yes, so it seems like a simple thing, and it's very accessible to all of us, and we do need to eat. So maybe we can be a little more creative.
Well, you're actually making me think of cheesecake that I actually want to bake. So maybe I'll take the time to do that tonight.
Sweet. A cheesecake?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
What kind of flavor?
Oh, I always do raspberry topping. I
Wow.
love raspberries. So.
Well, that's pretty special. That sounds quite yummy to me. So that's great. The other thing too that we can do in this time is creating time. Maybe we don't have to create time because we have it, is making time for inner growth. And just by watching these Zoom interviews and programs is putting time into our inner growth. However, it could also be about reading inspirational sayings. And, you know, if you don't have an inspirational book, is check out your library. And we do have lots of programs online, daily affirmations or positive thinking and inspirational reading. So we do have that access to be able to do that. And then one of the other things is to stay as present as you can be. And that comes back to that strategy of the five senses. So being very present with your surroundings and going through your five senses and experiencing nature, the sunshine, this amazing heat wave that we have at the moment. The last time we spoke, I got stormed out because of the rain. And today we've got this amazing heat. So stay well. And we are on again for, I believe it's July 21st.
Beautiful. Well, thanks again, Elka. Thanks for having us all join you. I want to thank everybody for coming to join us here. And again, we'll be back on the 21st. I'm going to make sure to make the links available to the playlist so that everybody can get a view of the current videos and all the ones that we've done in the past. I think it's important to spend the time, review it, and get that information into your soul. Okay, thanks again for joining us. We'll see you again in a couple weeks. Bye for now.